consciousness. Akulon pa istafad. Anuki fi ba ashuk shil kulon wakul ashuk kalon ni. Anuki farugun shil kulon wakul kalon farugun shil ni. Anuki wahed ka kulon wakul kalon wahed ka ni. Nuk aikilu anjihu kama farugun shil kulon wakub kama farugun. Nuk aikilu aknukul nuk afuzi fi kulon kama tawul kama kafuzi kama. Anuki kama kulon kalon anuki kulon yakul nuk aikilu kulon doda nuk abilu.
Basically, when you're doing this, you can pull yourself up and then yeah, like that. I can show you. I don't know. But I don't know. But I'll be able to do it.
What's going on, people? We're going to go into this Reptilians Dissected in a couple of minutes, yeah?
No.
Lend me that lighter, please. Yeah, I feel it's good time to bust down this reptilian thing. We did it with the Anunnaki, right? With the Anunnaki Dissected. So I want to do it with the reptilians as well and speak about the reptilians, just focus solely on reptilians so we can have all the small details, the small print we need on these Alpha Draconians. My recommended read, because I don't have any books close, I just dragged the first one off the library shelf, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know how many of you have read this. I've heard a lot about this book. I haven't read it myself, but I'm going to recommend it based off what people have said about this book and the fact that I should have by now read it myself. I'm going to jump into this book as soon as I've got an opportunity. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is written by Robert T. Kiyosaki with Sharon L. Letcher. Yeah? #1 bestseller. You must have heard about this book before, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Even my brothers told me about this book. So that's going to be my recommended read for the day. I've already did the all prayer as soon as I switched on. I thought, let me be on time for once. I'm always not on time. So let me start like mastering the time and being a bit more consistent. I want to speak about reptilians because there's still a lot of conjecture and assumptions, and there's still a lot of opinions that get thrown into the topic of reptilians. When people speak about reptilians, because they don't have all of the missing parts, and because it's such an out there idea still for a lot of people, there's a lot of conjecture and speculation and just misinformation that's being chucked out there, not only on the topic of Anunnaki, but especially in terms of differentiating between what is a reptilian and what is an Anunnaki. What's the difference? You understand? And what are the similarities? So with that being said, I'm going to go back into allness, into the quantum, into the Kybalion, so we stay in that concept, so we don't look at concepts like different from all the other stuff that we were speaking about. I'd rather speak about these things in a full concept, so you can incorporate the whole idea of it. It's not going to conflict with what you've learned about Kybalion and the 7 stages and emerald tablets. I want it all to be in a working, what's the word I'm looking for? Hypothesis or whatever word it is. I want it to work for you. So we're going to go straight back into this quantum idea of allness to bring it back out into how these reptilians come out of it and shit. How do they fit into this whole discussion, all right? So bear with me. Give me 2 minutes and we jump straight off. If anyone watched the Cash App handle, ask for it. If anybody wants the forum group details, ask for it. If anybody wants the IG pages, ask for it. I'll put it on the thread. I'm happy to put all them things on the thread, yeah? When I come back, we'll start. Is he still in his shit house? Is he still in his crap house? Yeah, guy, let's jump off with whoever's here, man. So yeah, back into the allness, yeah, Barcolum. We know from our discussions on the Kybalion and quantum how all is mind and the universe is mental, held within the mind of the all, right? So I want you to picture, if you can in your mind's eye, take away everything physical, take away all the gross matter, take away all the forms. All you're left with is allness, is the concept of that infinite divine mind or universal consciousness that permeates everything, okay? Once that decided that it wants to have a certain number of experiences and experience life and existence in a myriad of different ways, in a diverse number of ways, it developed what's called awareness of itself. And this awareness of itself caused positive and negative forces to form. So you get, when I say positive and negative forces, I'm talking about energy. Once the energy is formed and it's aware of the energy becomes positive and negative forces, and these forces start to move. So now you not only have energy, but you have motion. Together, when you combine the two, energy and motion, you have motion. Do you understand? Or energy in motion. So therefore, things start to move about. Energy starts to move about. And in this motion, in this movement, in this forces are generated. These forces begin to clash. They begin to clash and complement. Some forces are clashing into each other and have a conflict. Some forces are attracted to each other and merge, and they complement. So you have now positive and negative forces clashing, emotions clashing against each other. It becomes known what is agreeable and what is disagreeable, and what is disagreeable, what is good and what is evil, what is for or what is against. All these forces, okay? So the universal mind now ordered all of these universal forces to personify. Do you understand? To densify, to take on form from the formlessness. So in terms of this allness, when it breaks down into this, when it visualizes these, because we know it doesn't break down and become less than itself. But when it starts to visualize these positive and negative forces, this energy in motion, you can refer to these energies or these cosmic forces as the highest gods, or what we call Ilul, or you'll hear the word sometimes being thrown in there, Igigi. They don't have bodies, they don't have form, they don't have like weight or smell or none of that stuff. It's cosmic intelligences, forces, positive ones and negative ones, what we're calling the Iluls. Their element is air coming from the ether. And then when these positive and negative forces densify, as I said, the all, or Anu, the Most High, ordered all of these forces to personify. So now the energy starts densifying. It starts becoming slower in its resonance, in its vibration. The vibration's lower. So now this Ilul, or these cosmic forces, densify into what you call fire. Suns and stuff are born out of black holes. This fire creates fire beings who we're calling Etherians, or beings who are whole light beings. They're fully made out of light. Their element is fire. Fire and light is really the same thing, okay? So these consciousnesses, these forces now become matter, physical, dense, gross matter. But the matter is like ultra luminous matter. It's not like the matter that we're composed of now. It's a higher form of matter, radioactive, what do they call it? Radiant matter or luminiferious matter. Okay, from this you get like whole light beings, beings that just look like a whole light in a humanoid form with the arms and legs and stuff, but you can't see no features like eyes or face or mouth or nothing. They're just fully light beings, and their element is fire. They're less dense than the forces above them, which is the cosmic forces. The cosmic forces densified into these forces, which is based around the element of fire. Now, when you get these Etherians or these whole light beings, they slow down in density, and when their density slows down, they become what's called Anunnaqi, or what's called the kind of flesh that we're dealing with now, this kind of gross matter, 3D kind of matter. Now it's densified into, and their element is earth. So you have the air, fire, now we're down to the element of earth with the Anunnaqi. When the Anunnaqi slow down their vibration and they stop resonating so high, they densify into what we're calling the reptilians or nomos, yeah? And that the element of the nomos or the reptilian is water, being aquatic beings. So therefore, that's the four elements from allness, the four elements of deity: your air, your fire, your earth, and your water. Or your Iluls, your Etherians, your Anunnakis, and your reptilians, your nomos, okay? That's the four elements of this God stuff. Now, when we talk about this plane of matter, the Trinity is not Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The real triad or Trinity of this physical realm is force, matter, yeah, and consciousness, force, and matter. The consciousness comes from the all, the infinite universal mind, and force and thoughts to the occultist is the same thing. To the scientist, he might see it as two different things, like they classify cosmic forces and natural forces and different forces like heat and light and all these different forces, but they really don't have an understanding of what force actually is, because force is only the all, the infinite mind having a thought, and the force personifies in our realm as force or movement or motion. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all motion is really just the thoughts of the Most High moving things into being. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you have consciousness, you have force, and then you have matter, yeah? And all of that is based on causation, and it comes from the mental plane. We're on the plane of effects. We're not on a plane of causes, even though we can see the causes of things on this plane. This plane is really the plane of effects, the physical plane. The plane underneath this plane and behind this plane, the mental plane, that's the plane of causation, and there's many planes of causation and subplanes, but that's the plane of causation. Yeah, so I say all that to say this. When you read about creation in the religious sense, in the Bible and in the Quran and in the Torah and stuff, it's really telling you about creation twice. First, it happens on the mental plane or the spiritual plane, and then it happens on the physical plane. So you read all that let there be light stuff and in the beginning stuff, first, really and foremost, they're talking on the spiritual plane. Because anything you want to do right now, first you have to think it. First you have to think that, even if you think you're not thinking it, you're just acting involuntary. There's a thought behind that involuntary action. So everything comes from thought, is what I'm trying to say to you. Do you understand? And thought is governed by will. You understand? Let me continue. So yeah, there was two creations. There's cause and effect, yeah, in the law of causation. So first, everything was created on the spiritual plane. Then it was replicated in this matrix, in this physical reality that we see now. This is the effect of everything we was thinking on the physical plane, and the actions we took on the physical plane result in the happenings that we see in and around us on this material existence, okay? So it's always based on causation, cause and effect, yeah? And causation means the first cause. We're not talking action, reaction, cause and effect. That's incorrect. We're talking the first cause, then the action, reaction, cause and effect, okay? And this is just speaking about the manifestation of matter, so we can see where the reptilians fit into this whole grand scheme of things. Now, when things were being actualized on this physical realm, there had to be a failsafe. Remember, we're dealing with the mind of the all. So we're going to have all these experiences. So we need to have some kind of order to govern all of the chaos. So this is why, to make a long story short, it manifested within itself the all, the seat of the Most High, which we know in the ancient language as Anu. The seat of Anu, it's a seat, it's a title that a being has to sit down there and govern on that seat as the most high out of all the beings in creation, all the different species and different this and that in creation. This being that sits on this throne, created in the all, by the all, appointed by the all, is the most high. And so he acts as the representative of the most high. I should say he and she, because it's a divine couple that has to sit on that double throne. But anyway, we'll just use the name Anu. And to speed up the story, because I could go on and on today if I don't condense this lecture, we're dealing with the 8th and the 9th Anu. Yeah, we're not dealing with the 1st to the 7th. We're dealing with the 8th to the 9th Anu, because the Anu that's currently ruling now is the 9th Anu. Like you could say it's the 9th Prime Minister. There's been 8 other Prime Ministers before the one we've got now. So the galactic ruler right now is the 9th one to sit on that throne. And to deal with this reptilian story, we're dealing with the 8th, the one before the current one, and the current one right now, okay? And so for that, we're going back 66 billion years, yeah, in our story as melanated people. So we're going beyond treasures in the sun. We're going off planet, back to our origins in other constellations before we even got to this constellation, to speak about who these reptilians are, how they came into being, and what their agenda really is. Okay, so the seat of the Most High is Anu, and we're dealing with the 9th Anu at the moment, yeah, who currently sits on the throne, and his name is Razael. Okay, these Anunnaki ended up having, these Rizqiyan humanoid Anunnaki ended up having beef with the reptilian Anunnaki, and we'll get into that story of how that all started and how it happened. But as I said, to keep with the quantum foundation that I'm giving you right now, I want you guys to understand evolution in itself. When the Tamahu's giving you this thing about evolution and tying it to Darwinism and stuff, that's totally wrong. Evolution is just growth, and all things, due to the law of growth in the Hermetica, must go through a growth or evolution. You can use the words interchangeably. Don't confuse growth or evolution in our terms with Darwinism, with what the Mzungu is telling you about natural selection, and there's no real intelligence or anything behind it. It's just one big accident. That's wrong. You get me? Evolution is just growth into form. Growth into form. And when you grow into form, you start from the furthest out from source. When the all creates, it creates something that doesn't even know nothing spiritual. It's just gross matter. And the longer that gross matter exists, it goes into a form of evolution, which means it starts to grow upward into a spirituality and a realization of what itself really is, all the way back to the all. And it takes them experiences with it, whether it's a tree, whether it's a plant, whether it's a fly, whether it's a human being, whether it's a tiger. That's how it works. Inside of this evolution, when we're the furthest away from source and just dense gross matter, that starts the process of involution. Involution to the occultist or to the hermetist is the indrawing, which means the all starts pulling this individualized entity back into itself, back into the realization of itself. And so, like I said, you start the upward scale in your spiritual evolution or your transmigration of the soul back into the realization of the oneness of all things. You understand? That's really what evolution means. Evolution is the start of it, when the all starts indrawing. So all these different forms of life that have took the form start now going higher in their consciousness and ascending back into the all. Okay? Higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. So that's involution, the indrawing. Yeah? And they go all the way back up to the 9th dimension to vibrate on 9 density, which is the highest form of vibration before you merge back into the all. Yeah? Anu himself merges all the way back into the all at will. He can become a part of the, back into the all at will, or manifest himself on the throne as Anu at will. He earned that right, okay? But all forms in existence will eventually evolve back into the oneness and the realization of the oneness of all things, okay? So now, when the highest beings first came into this dimension and the involution started, and these forms started realizing the oneness of all things, they started from the low realm where we are now, even Anu and them, and had to ascend and work their way back up to the 9th dimension and back into the all. Like, they didn't start up there. they had to go through the same shit we're going through now and had to live on Earth and in 3D and all of that stuff too. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so that they didn't have to fight the reptilians when the war started, so they didn't have to continue this fighting these reptilians who are more warlike than we are. War is their thing. What the Rizqiyans did is ascend from the 6th and 7th density, where the reptilians can't ascend no higher, and ascended higher and higher back into the 8th and 9th, where the reptilians can't come. Do you understand? But when this physical reality was first manifested, yeah, the all in the form of the Most High Anu, the first Anu, manifested a crystal green essence. This crystal green essence is the crystal green essence of the all, or of creation. That's why they say grass. If I pick the grass, it's green. Do you understand? And leaves are green, and the color of nature is green, because it's running off the crystal green essence, or the light of Anu, the first Anu, on the spiritual plane. Do you understand? Which is the true light, not the light that we see today. I'm going to tell you like this: that crystal green essence split into two and became divided. The second part of it, yeah, is not as supreme as the first part. The first part is supreme. It's supreme crystal green light. We couldn't even fathom it on this plane. You understand what I'm saying? The light that we're dealing with is not even the true light when we see sunlight and fight, which is coming from fire and stuff. You understand? So when this green light split in two, it made a sub-supreme light of itself. That sub-supreme light is what we're calling fire, or the amber light. From the crystal green light, all of the benevolent, good-natured beings, entities, species were created from this crystal green essence. All of the evil and the recalcitrant and the negative, ugly beings were created from the amber light. So you got two different kind of beings in creation. Some come from the supreme green light, and they're the supreme beings, and some come from the amber light, which is the fire, which is recalcitrant beings. They're sub-supreme. They're not as supreme as the supreme beings. But both of the entities that come from these, from the green and the amber light, can be considered Anunnaki, or can be considered deity or gods. So this happened at the end of the first cycle. We're talking 66 billion years ago. And at the end of the first cycle of that 66 billion years ago, you have the creation of what we're talking about here, other entities. I'm going to go deeper into it. So the first beings to manifest from that great throne of wisdom, that means the black matter, the black light, what we call in radiation in today's language in science. The first to manifest is the Rizqiyans, the woolly-haired, 9 Eva beings with genes coated in melanin. The carbon 666 is laced into your DNA, because you're the first beings, you're the firstborn. You understand what I'm saying? You're the first men and women, the firstborn on every planet, in every realm, in every galaxy, in every universe, because every atom is made out of the same substance. The ether is everywhere. And when you think of the ether, which is this sea of nothingness, where everything is floating in, interchange the word ether with consciousness, because really this sea of ether that they tell you is really just a sea of consciousness that everything is floating inside of. So there's nowhere where the ether is not. It permeates everything. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the first beings to manifest from this ether, this blackness, this black matter, was what our parents, the Rizqiyans, the woolly-haired 9 ether beings, and they manifested 76 trillion years ago. I'm only giving you 66 billion years here, but it goes back 76 trillion. That's a massive number. Years ago. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, when we was just the only beings knocking about, imagine it's just us, black folk. There's no other beings in the universe, nothing. By this time, 66 billion years ago, we're up to the 8th Anu, whose name is Ansha. Yeah? So Ansha decided, yo, I want some new kind of life to celebrate. I'm feeling like creating some new kind of life to celebrate. So his chief scientist was Mother Hubbard. The Anunnaki's chief scientist is always a female. The females are always the chief scientists. Like now, this Anu that we have now, Razael, his chief scientist is his daughter, Ninti. She's the chief scientist, so she worked on the human project and all that stuff with Enki. But back then, the chief scientist was a being called Mother Hubbard. Yeah, and so Ansha, the ruler of that time, the prime minister or the Anu of that time, he says, yo, I want to create some new life, man, so we can have a like celebration, create some new life. So he got his chief scientists together, including Mother Hubbard, and they came up together with her leadership with what we call the dragonfly on Earth. What we see as the dragonfly insect, that's what they came up with, Mother Hubbard and her scientists, for the Anu, because Ansha, he wanted to celebrate new life. They made a dragonfly, and no, not talking about the little dragonfly on Earth that's like this big. We're talking about maybe this shit's the size of a car. You know what I mean? A VW car or some shit. It's like that, and so they're more tougher than these little bugs that we have here. But it's the same thing, right? So she made the dragonfly, and all insects come out of the dragonfly. That went on from the dragonfly. They drafted like hundreds of thousands different insects: mantis, grasshopper, bees, wasp, come from the dragonfly. Do you understand that? Yeah. So they started making these dragonflies, but they didn't understand how rapidly these dragonflies reproduce. And a lot of these dragonflies was aggressive. They will just switch aggressive. So whether she did that deliberately or not, because further in the story, you'll see that Mother Hubbard has an agenda. Okay. But anyway, she's created these dragonflies. These times we're in the Pegasus, what we're calling today the Milky Way. We're in the Pegasus galaxy as the Anunnaki. We've created these insects. These insects are Mother Hubbard, whether she's deliberately made them aggressive or not, they've turned aggressive. And so a war has started between these mantid insect beings, dragonflies and whatever else, against us humanoid beings. They show you this in the Aliens movie. The whole Aliens movie with Sigourney Weaver, Aliens 1, Aliens 2, Prometheus, Aliens vs Predator. They're showing you this story that I'm telling you 5 and 6 times over, so you can't say that you was never told. They're gonna say we told them, they just wasn't listening. We put it in all these movies. They thought it was it's for science fiction, but they running this same story from different angles to show to make sure, yo, they told you that there was a war. This is the first war that started in the Pegasus galaxy after Mother Hubbard had made these insect beings. Okay, so now the decision was taken because we ended up having to leave that galaxy. They overran the planets in that galaxy to the point where it was like, yo, we're gonna have to evacuate this galaxy. You know, pest control ain't working. You understand? So we had to leave the Pegasus galaxy. A few of us stayed there to monitor these insects in the Pegasus, but the bulk of us left and we came to this galaxy. Remember what I'm saying? This is 66 billion years ago. We landed on the fringes of this galaxy, yeah, and we convened a council to how we're going to deal with this problem, this insect problem. Because if they find a way to leave that galaxy and travel around the galaxy, then it's peak. So rather than wait for that to happen, we're going to have to go and deal with this problem. So Mother Hubbard and them now, they create a next type of being to deal with this insect being. Now, if you want to study these aliens, all you got to study is the nature on Earth. You got to see who eats who. Birds, they eat insects. Lizards, they eat insects. Mammals eat fish or whatever. Whatever goes on down here, due to the law of correspondence, it goes on up there with them. So what I'm saying is, Mother Hubbard now made what's called the avians or the cardinals. They're bird beings, humanoid bird beings. Birds eat insects. So the Anunnaki created these bird beings or these avian beings who are some of the most ancient beings too, along with the insect beings. These avian beings were made to fight against the bug beings. And that's how we defeated and controlled these bug beings, by creating these bird beings. That's why when you go to Babylon, Sumeria, and Egypt, they always show you that the deities have wings, because we mixed with some of these beings. Some of the Rizqiyans Anunnaki, they mix with these humanoid bird beings. So some of the deities like Anu and other different Anunnakis actually have wings like birds. Do you understand? Some of them have 2 wings, some of them have 4. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's why it's depicted on the walls of ancient Sumeria and ancient Babylon, and you see these bird beings depicted with the humanoid beings. So it's not just humanoid beings, you see reptilian beings, you see bird beings, all depicted on the walls for you. You see Isis with her bird wings, and certain other Neturus depicted with their bird wings to attest to what I'm telling you here about there's humanoid bird beings that merged with our people and fight on our side and was fighting against these insect beings, okay? That's how we defeated them. But Mother Hubbard, the chief scientist, as I said, she had an agenda. She didn't like Anu, the Anu that was ruling in her time. And she didn't like him more after she was kind of like blamed for this insect problem and this insect war. She really felt like this Anu can't even like He ain't even qualified to be the Anu. She felt like she was more qualified than him. She should have won that competition for the Most High. So she started scheming against the Anu of her time, which is Anshar, to get him off the throne. So what she did, she started creating these reptilian beings now. Forget the insects. Now she's creating reptilian beings. And how she did it, she used the bird beings, started drafting out of these bird beings, yeah, a certain gene, and also the beings on, she started drafting out a gene out of these bird beings and created what's called the frogmen. So the first reptilian she created was these little 4-foot troglodyte looking reptilians, and they're really aggressive. They ninjas, they're called the Ninja Fleet. So Ninja Turtles was made off them to show them. There was they're the ones that attacked the Anunnaki. You understand, when Nibiru came through to Tiamat into this realm, because they was already here. This is Mother Hubbard's creation. There was here on Earth and next door on a planet which was called Maldek, which got smashed up by Nibiru. But anyway, she started creating these little frogmen, these troglodyte cave dweller frogmen. Some of them lived in the water, some of them lived on land in the caves and shit. They're only 4 foot tall and they're very aggressive. Once she got these little frogmen, she mixed them with the bird beings. So these little aggressive frog reptilians that look somewhat like greys, Ramadians and stuff, she spliced them with the bird being. So now that's how you get the Alpha Draconian. Now this new frogman is not a frogman, it's more like a lizard because he's spliced with the bird. This is why some of them Alpha Draconians have the wings, because they are spliced between them frog people and the bird beings, and they really aggressive. That's why they're known as the Dragons. And they work for Mother Hubbard. She created them to be her slave army so she can fight against the Rizqiyans and try and take Anshar off the throne. That was her whole agenda. Okay, she even went further than that and then mixed her own DNA with these dragons to produce what's called the Vulcans, what they show you in Star Trek, the people with the pointy ears. Their ears are pointy like Spock, but they are black people. They look black like me and you. So when you're talking about Tarnush and Halal, yeah, his son, yeah, you're talking about these Vulcan, these black reptilian races, who is the royal reptilians. They like the royal family of the reptilians. They don't look like lizards. They look like black people, like humans, okay? And this is leading up to the second war, which is mentioned in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verses 7 to 9, when it says, and the old serpent was dashed out of heaven or wounded or whatever it says about the old serpent. It's talking about this and tarnishing them and how Mother Hubbard created these guys, okay? Hold on. Yeah, so you got insects, the mantids, who we defeated in the first war. Then you got these frog beings, you got greys, and now you got these dragons. Yeah, you got frogmen, and then frogmen were spliced with the bird people, and now you got dragons. Okay, so the first war 66 billion years ago, which ended 66 billion years ago, was the insect wars, and then we came here to this solar system and chose this earth when it was in the form of Tiamat, was where the gods came to convene their council and to carry out their competition to see who's going to be the most high Anu and all of that stuff. That happened here. So when you go into the Enuma Elish of the Sumerian tablets, and it's telling you about, Enuma Elish means when on high. It's talking about before the gods came here to Tiamat, and when they came here to Tiamat Earth, they're telling you about the sun, the Apsu, and they're telling you about Mumu, Mercury, and how this constellation that we're currently in was formed, and how they added planets on, because Anu and them were creating planets also, were creating homes for certain beings who had lost their home due to the insects or due to the reptilians or whoever. You had also diaspora species. So Anu and them had their own business where they create technology, crafts, and even planets, and was selling certain races different planets and rehousing different diaspora species in different new constellations, newly built and stuff. But it all started here after that first war with the insects. They came here to Tiamat Earth. That's why Earth is very important to so many of them, because 23 of them species came here to Earth, and they came together and said, listen, we're going to start a project here to ensure that this don't happen again. So they made what's like a UN. They made a galactic federation with 23 different alien races on it to govern these different worlds where these aliens come from, to make sure, listen, we're not going to have no more unnecessary wars and create all these diaspora species. Like I said, so above, so below. We reached the same conclusion here on Earth. After World War I and II, we was like, shit, we're going to need some kind of United Nations or League of Nations or something to stop these humans from nuking each other and stuff and going to war. We don't want no more Hitlers or whatever. We got the same alternative up there going on with reptilians versus Rizqiyans versus Octorians and Andromedans and all of that kind of shit. You understand what I'm saying? So we had a project, Blue Rock, here, right here in the Milky Way, the 18th galaxy, on this planet when it was 3 times larger, called Tiamat, the planet, the maiden of life, with 23 different species of aliens contributing their DNA. And this planet was supposed to be used as a seed planet, which means the species and races on this planet will be taken and planted on different constellations and planted on different planets, different worlds. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why Earth is so important to so many different species of beings. But anyway, back to the creation of the avians, the cardinals. A lot of them reside on the planet Neptune and the planet Mars. The planet Neptune and the planet Uranus. The planet Neptune and the planet Uranus were created in the competition for the seat of the Most High. If you go back to the Anunnaki dissected and the Kingdom of Anu, we'll give you the details on that, of how Neptune and Uranus are artificial planets built by Alalu and Anu himself. Alalu built Neptune for the competition, and Anu built Uranus lying down on its side with a stargate, so that no unnecessary beings could come through into our, because there's bird beings that guard the stargate on Uranus, so you can't come into this realm unless you have a permission, you have like a passport and stuff. You understand? So they're trying to rip space fabric and bring beings in through that way. But the beings that live on Uranus are the bird beings. Like I say, they vibrate up to the 8th and 9th density, just like the Rizqiyans. They're some of the most highest and noble beings. But don't get it twisted, even some of them are on the evil side. So Mother Hubbard's agenda was to get Anu off the throne. She felt like she should be the Most High, and she don't like this Anu, and she wants him off the throne. So she started scheming, and she made her own seat, where she's Mother Hubbard, and she rules over this disagreeable race of bullies that we're calling today, in today's language, Reptilians or Alpha Draconians, okay, or Serpents, Dragons, yeah. And as I said, she created them by first drafting from the insect beings, bird beings. They drafted bird beings out of the insect beings, and then out of the bird beings, they drafted the frogmen. And then once they got the frogmen, Mother Hubbard crossed the frogmen back with the bird beings to get the dragons, or the Alpha Draconian reptilians that you see today. William Tompkinson, who died, who spent a lot of time researching reptilians, and Alex Collier, who spent a lot of time, he says he was in contact with these reptilians and stuff. They say they don't know, nobody knows the origin of the reptilians. Them Mzungu don't know. They tell you, oh, they just got dumped in this realm and all of this stuff, but no one can beat them. They just the ultimate, and yo, that's how they had the Mzungu. But I'm telling you here where these niggas came from, their origin. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, where am I? So yeah, Mother Hubbard had an agenda, yeah? And like I said, they were created on the planet Maldek. They weren't created in the Dracos Constellation. They migrated there. They was created next door from this Earth here. So they was on the Earth. They was here on Earth, and they was here on the next door planet, which was Maldek. And the beings on Maldek were these little 4-foot Maldekian troglodyte beings. They were the beings that Mother Hubbard grafted and crossed them with the bird beings, yeah, Maldekians. They call it the Lost Planet. In today's language, they even call it the Lost Planet Vulcan in science, and they claim that they found it, the Lost Planet Vulcan. They just ain't too, they don't put it on the news and tell us about it, innit? But they've came out time and time again and say, yo, we found the Lost Planet Vulcan because it got whacked out of its orbit by Nibiru when Nibiru came here. Hold on. So yeah, Mother Hubbard ended up mixing her own DNA with these dragons, and that created Tarnush and Halal, a race of black people reptilians. They look like black people, but their genetics is reptilian, and they worship Mother Hubbard as their queen. She's like the queen over all of them. So Tarnush and who you're calling the devil, Satan, Lucifer, they work for her. You understand? And they moved their whole operation into the into the Dracos constellation. That's why they're known as Alpha Draconians, because they live in the constellation of Dracos, and the main planet of that constellation that they work from is called Fuban. Thuban, Fuban. Understand? That's in the Dracos constellation, and that's in the southern constellations, the southern stars. It's even mentioned in the Bible for you by Job and certain prophets like that. Job chapter 9, verse 9 talks about these southern stars, and Dracos is one of them constellations in them southern stars, Pleiades and all of that. So yeah, she mixed her DNA with them, and they show you this shit in Star Trek with Spock and them Vulcans and that. That's really like them showing you the devils, but it's just that more time they're not showing you the black ones, but that's what they're hinting at. So on Earth, you had various different reptilian beings, even them frogmen that lived on Earth. They crossed over from Maldek next door, and some of them lived on Earth. Some of them lived underwater, and some of them lived on land in the caves and shit. When Nibiru came around 24 billion years ago and bounced off of Neptune and caused that electrical storm on Neptune, messed up Neptune, yeah. So it made a diaspora species out of loads of species who were left on Neptune. Now Neptune's all mashed up. They had to be moved to Earth. Today we call mermaids. We see them on the news and stuff. People are like, yo, mermaids, do they really exist? But this goes back to the story. They was from Neptune, and their planet got smashed up and had to be rebuilt. So while it was being rebuilt, they was housed here on Earth. Do you understand what I'm saying? Along with other species whose suns had collapsed when Nibiru passed or whatever, like Sirius B. Sirius B collapsed when Nibiru went past. A lot of species were made diaspora species just from that alone. So they had to be rehoused. So you have beings like Nomos that you hear the Dogon talk about, how Nomos, reptilian beings, came down and taught them about the stars and stuff. They were some of the diaspora species that had to come on Earth and have a home on Earth until their shit was fixed up. Now, their shit's fixed. So most of them Nomos have gone back home. They in Sirius were around a new star that was created for them and new planets and stuff. Some of them mermaid beings we see here, they gone back to Neptune. Now Neptune's fixed. Neptune is a water planet, aquatic creatures like the Nomos. The Nomos is an aquatic form of reptilian. They're reptilians, but they're not Alpha Draconians. They're their own thing. They're aquatic reptilians. So a lot of them are on Neptune. Some of them are still here. Most of them have gone back home, which is newly built for them by Anu. In that he's the Most High, he has to rehouse all of these diaspora species. A lot of them live on the Nibiru also until they find homes to claim as their own. You understand? So yeah, the diaspora species, yeah, we're talking about, hold on, we're talking about Procyon, we're talking about Nordics, Arcturans, Andromedans, Aldebarans, Reptilians, Rizqiyans, Lyrans, all types of different beings that became diaspora species and that live on the Nibiru and had to go around looking for new homes and being rehoused on new worlds. Okay. When the Nibiru bounced off Neptune and caused the electrical storm on Neptune, it went on and smashed in to the planet Maldek and licked it out of orbit. And also one of Nibiru's satellites, you know how it's got 4 satellites, 4 winds that go around it. One of them winds smashed into Tiamat, this Earth, and smashed off the bottom half of Tiamat. And this Earth had to be reformed. That's why it's 3 times smaller, because the bottom half got shattered off. So a lot of things went wrong in that time when the Nibiru came round. And it wasn't Anu who was driving the Nibiru at that time. It was Murdoch, you understand? And I think what caused him to crash is that he didn't have the full knowledge of how Uranus, Anu made it lie down. So because it's lying down, you can't see it until you're too close to it if you're coming in a craft. And if you don't see it early enough, the gravitational pull of it is going to pull you towards it, and it's going to cause something to, it caused a crash, you understand? So a lot of things went wrong. The Anunnaki had to be, the Rizqiyans became responsible for fixing it, for rehousing all these species and fixing the damage and stuff. This is 24 billion years ago, which is the real age of this planet in its current form. It's 24 billion years old. Forget what the Mzungu say about Earth's only 4.5 billion years old and the universe is only 13.6 billion years old. Nigga, this Earth alone is 24 billion years old, and it has more than one birthday because it gets reformed and reshaped and reset. Do you understand? Just like you might come to a house and renovate it. This house might be a derelict, and you say, yo, I want to buy this house and invest in it. I'm going to fix it up, and then I'm going to move new people into it, or I'm going to move into it. The same happens with planets. Yo, this planet's smashed up. Yo, I'm buying this planet. Who does this planet belong to? Yo, let me buy it off him and fix it up. Yo, I'm moving these guys in. I'm the landlord. I'm moving these guys into the planet now. This stuff goes on in the heavens. Do you understand? On both sides, good and bad. Real estate, okay? So during this time when the Anunnaki did that in their search for gold, obviously you know the story about how the Anunnaki wanted gold and they bred Lulu Amelu, or they bred humans to mine out the gold. There's still more details that we haven't gone into into actually how did they breed this human or this man, what DNA was used, where did they get it from, because we could go into all of that, but I'll just give you a brief and say there was other man projects. Like Earth wasn't the only project where the Anunnaki was breeding humans. We like to think, because we're egotistical humans, we like to think it's just all about Earth. So if we're talking about the Anunnaki story, we're only talking about Earth. No, man. They had projects on Mars where they were breeding humans. They had projects in Sirius where they were breeding humans. There was all over the place breeding these humans, these primitive workers. So the ones on Mars got caught up in a war because they was doing this project on Mars to breed these humans, yeah, by taking beings from Sirius. They were stealing beings from Sirius. So you're talking about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Nomos. What else were they stealing? Different beings, and they were splicing them. There was about 23 different species they were stealing, and they were splicing them to come down with what we call the Sands people. You see, in South Africa, the Sands people, they actually got insect DNA, where they were grafted out of the insect projects, and they made a human project side of that insect project that resulted in what you call in the Sands people in South Africa with the shiny looking eyes and the yellowish looking skin. Go and look at a picture of them and study them again. So they come from the insect beings. But what happened on Mars, you had two type of grey. You had the Ramadian grey, who was benevolent and working with the Rizqiyans, and you had the Markabian grey, the grey who was snatched up by reptilians and hybridized and really aggressive and working with the reptilians. So these two forms of grey on Mars, who used to live on Mars, started a war, and their civil war blew Mars up, smashed up Mars, ripped Mars' ozone layer off and stuff. So a lot of species had to be evacuated from Mars to Earth. So the Sands people in South Africa was one of the species that was taken off of Mars and put on Earth. And that's why you'll hear people saying, yo, they're the oldest people on Earth, because they are. The Sands people who came off of Mars, and the Twaman, the little 4-foot pygmy people, yeah, and the Hindus are three of the oldest races on this planet Earth. The Sands people come from that Mars project. Do you understand? Where they were breeding the Mzungu. They were breeding them down into Mzungu. Yeah, but when that project got stopped, they used them Sands people. Rather than just let it go to waste, they brought them to Earth and merged them into the project that they were doing here. So when you talk about Cadmon and Nekeba, you're talking about 4 different type of humanoid species being merged into one. Because Eve, half of her seed came from these Sands people, and the other half of her seed came from the Twaman. And if we speak about the Twaman, these same Maldekians, these same troglodyte frogmen who Mother Hubbard bred, yeah, who had come down to Earth when the Nibiru smashed the bottom half of Earth off. All of those that lived on land, they died, and the ones that was in water, they survived the lick because obviously they're underwater. But they saw it as an attack, so they attacked the Nibiru. Do you understand? So then that's when it gives you all that stuff about the satellites were launched out at the Nibiru, and these frog beings in their crafts attacked Nibiru, and Nibiru neutralized them in its Merkaba force field and stuff. A lot of them beings survived in the waters of the earth, and they the ancient ancestors of humanity, meaning when they crawled out of the water after all of the mixings, all of the germs that have come off Nibiru, and the dust cloud being moved so the sunlight penetrates with the hydrogen and evolution and stuff sets in. Now you get a different type of evolution. The evolution of the earth is changed. So these beings come out of water, crawl out of the water, as what science, anthropology tells you is genus Homo, which is the first hominid to come out of the waters, the genus Homo. Then after genus Homo, the sun pulls it upright because it's out of the water. Now it's a Homo erectus. So what I'm saying is the Twaman, he is one of the oldest species on Earth, because you can trace him back to them same Ninja Turtle beings, to them same frog beings. You see what I'm saying? But the Sands people come from the insect beings, and the Twaman comes from, his DNA comes from the beings that crawl out of the water as the genus Homo. And we've given you the story of that now. You understand? So, and also you have others like the Hindus and the Watusis. The Watusi came from Sirius because they was a diaspora species that came off the Nibiru and wanted to claim Earth as their own home planet. So they're a group of Africans who's not even native to Earth. And that's why they're aggressive, and they were snatching up the Twaman and shit. And it was the Afar Nubians, they're another type of Nubians, who was the warriors, or the Medjay, the galactic warriors. They was the ones who protect the Twaman from the Watusi. This shit is deep, yeah? So When all of that happened now, with these Mother Hubbard breeding these reptilians, she started a second war. Do you understand? And this second war was started by her commander, Tarnush. And what he did was attack Risk, because after the Anunnaki left here, they've rehoused a whole bunch of different species. And now they've left Earth to go and create a new heaven. So a lot of us think Orion and Sirius and stuff is older than Earth, but it's actually not. Orion was the new heaven built after they've sorted out shit and made this galactic treaty after the first war. Now, Anu and them, Anu's won the competition with his planet Uranus. He won over Neptune, and Alalu with his planet Neptune. Now Anu's gone on building more different star systems and more different places like Orion. You understand? The new heaven and Lyra. You understand what I'm saying? Yo, so he's gone and built these new heavens. Now, what Tarnush and Mother Hubbard had done, Tarnush, at that time, they had an exchange program going around. All these different species, you can travel to different, just like exchange students in university. You can, 50 of us can travel from Earth and travel to Heliopolis, one of the planets around Orion's belt. Orion's belt, them 3 stars, is actually 6 stars. We can only see 3, yeah? But all of them have planets around them. And a lot of these Necheru, Gauds, come from the planets around Orion's belt. That's why they point the pyramids and everything to Orion's belt. Now, we could, as an exchange group, 50 of us go to planet Heliopolis, and 50 of them come here, them Gauds. And it's an exchange, like student exchange thing. So Tarnush and them took advantage of this to say, yo, let's go to Risk, and we're going to go to Risk and cause trouble. You can learn all about it on my other live that I did, the Anunnaki Dissected. But that's how they started this second war. And Tarnush attacked the planet Risk with his shield depleter and all of that stuff. You understand? But what I'm saying, before that, as I said, they made a treaty, the Galactic Federation, with 23 different species in that Galactic Federation. When this second war started, yeah, with Mother Hubbard and Tarnush, yeah, and Alalu, yeah, they broke the Galactic Federation in 2. 1/3 went with Tarnush and Mother Hubbard. So you have 2/3 that stayed as the Galactic Federation. I'm talking 2/3 of all the species, all of these different alien species. Yeah, 1/3 of them decided to side with Tarnush and Mother Hubbard, and they became what's called the Galactic Republic. Like I said, when they're giving you that Star Trek shit with the Galactic Republic and the Federation, that shit's all based on that's them telling you what the fuck happened. Because they have to give you that revelation. They have to tell you what they're doing and what they did and what they want to do. So that broke the Galactic Federation in 2. 2/3 we made with Anu, and 1/3 went with Mother Hubbard and Tarnush. And 1/3 split further and split into what's called, a group came out of that 1/3 of the Galactic Federation, calling themselves the Ashtar Command, which is run by Alalu, which is Anu's brother. On Earth, he's remembered as Dagan, with the fish hat that looked like the Pope, and the bottom half of his body looked like a fish. And we give you the details of that also on the live, the Anunnaki Dissected. Today, back in Greece, they used to call him Zeus, yeah, and today he's going by the name Sananda and Melchizedek and all types of different names. They take any name that appeals to people so they can manipulate. So you got the Galactic Federation, that's the good guys, yeah, they're the Galactic Federation of life and existence, yeah, and then you got the Galactic Republic, which is the Reptilians and Mother Hubbard, and tarnishing them, yeah, Halal, the Satan, the devil, yeah, who's the current commander. And then you have the offshoot, which is the Ashtar Command, which go around in their avatars. The avatars that they're using is them blonde-haired, blue-eyed, who you call in Nordics or Pleiadians. And they're tricksters. They cannot be trusted. Right, where am I? So Mother Hubbard created the Reptilians. When we speak about Reptilians and the Draco, they have a matriarchal nature. They don't have a king. They have a queen, and the queen is Mother Hubbard. She's the queen of the Reptilians. You understand what I'm saying? And the females are the ones that run things. The males don't run nothing. The males are the ones that go in crafts and go and look for other planets to conquer. And when they conquer a planet, they bring the females in, and the females run the shit. And the males go off somewhere else and look for another planet to conquer. So it's all female run based on Mother Hubbard. Do you see what I'm saying? And the females are smarter and they're more dominant than the males. The females rule over the males, even in their societies. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're the brains behind the whole shit. And they're even more cruel, even more evil, even more sadistic than the males when it comes to torturing children and all that shit. It's the females that are bossing that shit. This is all down to Mother Hobbit. It's important to know that when we're talking about the Alpha Draconians, that's only one type of reptilians that she's perfected for herself, and then the Vulcans is another type that she's made the royal class, yeah, which you can say are disagreeable. But a lot of the early ones that she made, even after the frogmen, they're not actually disagreeable. Like you could say Enki's mum and them Homo saurian reptilians, they were like you say a turtle. The turtle don't eat meat. The turtle eats leaves. He eats grass. He's a herbivore. So some of them are vegetarians. All of them are not disagreeable. We're only talking about the Alpha Draconians, who we call the Dragons, and the fucking Vulcans, the ones that walk around telling black people that they're our brothers. Do you understand what I'm saying? Them black devils. We're only talking about two types. There's a lot of reptilians who are not disagreeable. There's a lot of reptilians on the Nibiru that are on the side of Anu, that are on the Galactic Federation. So don't go thinking that all reptilians are evil. It's very important to stress this, just like all humans are not good, or all white people are not bad, or all black people are not good. You see what I'm saying? Like, yo. And it's also important for me to stress again that there's over 600 different species of reptilians, and all of them are their own species. You understand? They're not the same. It's like comparing a wasp to a hornet. A hornet is different than a wasp, though even though they're kind of the same thing, they're not. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So certain reptilians, like if I say a nomos, is not the same as me saying an Alpha Draconian or a Homo saurian or a troglodyte Maldekian. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. The same goes for Greys, the same goes for Nordics, the same goes for humans, the same goes for Rizqiyans, the same goes for feline beings, the same goes for plant beings. Like, it's the law of polarity. You got both poles in everything. We're only talking about a specific group. And when we're talking about the Galactic Republic, that's just 1/3 of the whole. You understand? So even there's 600 different types of them, and there's also hybrids. Hybrids like Enki himself and Enki's mother, who's slashed with Rizqiyan and Homo saurian. And so when she, as a hybrid, chooses to mix with the Rizqiyans again, that makes Enki like 75% Rizqiyan and 25% Homo saurian. So he's a hybrid. And then when you get Vulcans like Tarnush raping Rizqiyans, he raped Mylita, a very high up prominent female Anunnaki. He raped her. And so the seed that comes out of that is who you call in Lucifer. He's a hybrid. He's part Anunnaki, Rizqiyan, and he's part Vulcan. So his kind of personality, they ain't even never dealt with before. He's like one of the most brilliant out of all, over 6 billion of his kind. His personality is unpredictable. His potential is brilliant. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why he calls himself Lucifer, or the enlightened one, the shining one, and all of that shit. Because to shine, light, means to be intelligent. You understand? You can read all about him through religion. And then when you come through all them books of religion, like what the Bible has to say about him, and what the Quran has to say about him, and what the Torah has to say about him, Shaitan, Satan, Diablo, Lucifer, and then you get to the holy tablets, then you start to see, okay, now I get it, because he's half fucking Anunnaki, and he's half fucking, that's like being half God and half demon. That's a fucked up character right there. You see what I'm saying? Even more than Enki, because Enki's people is agreeable. So sticking on the subject of Enki and his reptilians, like I said, Maldek was next door, and Mother Hubbard was creating reptilians, and she created the frogmen first. She also created Enki and them's people, but they weren't disagreeable. They lived on this planet. This was their planet. This is their planet. So Enki's great grandfather on his mother's side was the ruler of this planet when the Anunnaki came down here talking about they want gold. Do you understand what I'm saying? So as far as they're concerned, they looked at the Anunnaki, the Rizqiyans, like, yo, these black people here is disagreeable. They want to come down here and take all our shit and tell us what's going to go on and change shit up and all of that. If you see it from their perspective, because like I tell you all the time, is this yours?
No, sure. Oh. You want it, yeah?
Yeah. Melon. Exactly.
Right. Thank you.
So they were created on this planet, and they were agreeable, and this was a water planet. The Anunnaki came down here and cleared up the water. It was Enki who made all these canals. When you hear people talking about Tartaria and how all these canals, we used to use them for more stuff, and who built the canals and how come they're all like symmetrical, the same ones that are in America, the same ones that are on this side of the Atlantic. Enki came down here and dug out all of them canals so the Anunnaki could transport gold and shit. That's what all these canals is for. That's the key, and I'm sharing it with you guys. You understand? That's where the canals come from. That's how Tartaria, this whole grid system was built up by the Anunnaki so they could ship out the gold out of this bitch. Yeah? And because Tiamat, this planet, was so rich in water, so rich in gold, in diamonds, in certain crystals and stuff, because Enki's the heir, I mean, his grandfather owns this planet, so he's the heir to own this planet. So Enlil and them are trying to take this planet off him. Do you understand? Because that makes him very, very fucking rich. Not just being the firstborn son of Anu, but being the heir of this fucking planet. That makes him the perfect person to be the go-between when they come in here looking for gold. They can say, yo, Enki, go down there and talk to your people, man. You get me? So when they were forced to take Enki off the project, that didn't work in their favor. Yeah, but I've given you lot a lot to consider and a lot to study, especially those of you who's already watched the Anunnaki Dissected and the Kingdom of Anu and certain different talks that we have. What I'm giving you here is an elaboration so you can understand how to separate this reptilian thing now, because when you go in the UFO community, they talk about it all together. Anunnakis, they could be talking about reptilians, Nordics, Rizqiyans, and notice they hardly ever talk about the black side, because when the black side comes into the argument done. And we just on the cusp of that shit right now, where they're telling you, yo, the founder races have come back and it's made everything look crazy. They telling you, Anu and them black people are turning the fuck back up. We pull the fuck up right now. So Enki is a hybrid from the Homo saurians that was on Earth, the real rulers of this planet, and the reptilians that was here before humanoids came here, before Anunnakis came here. The reptilians was here living a peaceful life, living as reptilian. The Anunnaki started coming here millions of years ago before they made the deal, and they already started mixing with these Homo saurians here on this Earth, which resulted in beings like Enki's mother, who was half Anunnaki, half Homo saurian. So when Anu and them pulled up and they made the treaty for the gold, they made it by making her marry Anu, and so that was consummated by Enki. So now, okay, we got a treaty to take the gold. So Enki, being down here, part of the people down here, he starts putting into place the procedure so that his other side can take the gold that they need. But at the same time, he's affectionate and attached to his mother's side. Do you see what I'm saying? And for that, the Anunnaki end up hating him. Yo, even though they're his people, they expect him to treat them like that. And Lil and certain other Anunnaki and Leo's mom and them, they looking at Enki like he a piece of shit, like he ain't really one of us. He's just like a means to an end. We need the fucking gold. So he had to fucking, they looking at him like that. So the rivalry is dread. You understand what I'm saying? It's a lot more complex than your pastor would like to admit to you, or your imam, or your rabbi, or your fucking guru, or whoever it is. So we spoke about the Galactic Federation and how it's in three parts. The Galactic Federation of Life and Existence, the Galactic Federation, the Republic, yeah, and then Ashtar Command, who's calling themselves the Galactic Federation of Light, like light in the sky, yeah? They the imposters, and these are the disagreeables. So you have to be very careful when you're on YouTube and they're saying, oh, this is a message from the Galactic Federation of Light. Yeah, and you're seeing all these fucking beings on there that don't look like us. And people is, and don't get it twisted, like I said, it's not all of them that are disagreeable. So there are Pleiadians here who are trying to help this shit. Like I said, you're going to have to discern who's who. You're going to have to use your inner eye to know, okay, I can trust this message because I resonate with this shit. You understand? Never get in the box of saying, oh, all these Pleiadians are evil because they got blonde hair and blue eyes. So that's bullshit. You falling into that racism shit. Yeah, and don't think just because it's black people, oh, yo, this is sick, yo, this is us, because all skin folk is not kinfolk. They look like us, but they ain't us. Rather, he keeps telling niggas this shit. I'm just repeating it, yeah, because it complements what I'm saying. Yeah, so Orion was the new heaven that was built. And inside of Orion, behind it, is Lyra. And inside Lyra is Risk, which is is a free sun constellation. So when Tarnish and them turned up there and fucked up the ozone layer with the shield depleter, it caused the same type of shit that's happening here with the global warming, with the hole in the ozone layer. They had free sun killing their shit faster than how ours is doing here. You understand? And so we returned here for a brief period till we could fix Rizq. We had to cook because we knew the gold was here, because we'd already been here. We were like, yo, we're gonna have to go back to the Milky Way, Earth, and get a whole heap of that gold. You understand? Without going into the details of that. And so when they came here, they had to make a new treaty, and that's when your Genesis shit kind of kicks in. Oh, and the spirit of God hovered over the surface of the waters. That's Enlil in its crap. And these reptilians, Homo saurians, looking up saying, these niggas is fucking come back. This is a reset thing. These niggas want gold. So that's why they tell you right in Genesis 2, and the gold of this land. God said the gold of this land, Cush Nubia, was good. The whole shit's gold from the start. Yeah, the pastor's not gonna explain that to you, or the imam, or the fucking rabbi. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They're trying to spook you out. They're gonna tell you, I'm trying to give you some brainwashing. They're gonna tell you people like Jadefre is watching Star Trek. I'm gonna let you discern for yourself. So Orion had to be, Risk had to be rebuilt, man. We had to rebuild it. And while we was back here in this constellation, yeah, Saturn and Mars were used to build planets and technology. Because Anu, don't get it twisted like religion likes to make you think God is someone who just sits in heaven on a chair and he just talks in this big voice like James, what's his name? Earl Ray or whatever. And I said, let there be light. Let this guy dead. Make a storm come and kill off them clot. That's not God, man. Anu has a business where he builds planets and he builds technology. You can get a ship built for your ass. You want a mothership? This is how much it costs. The money is gold. How much gold do you have? I will build you. You can buy one of our craft. Rizqiyan technology, yeah? Light technology. You can buy crafts that operate outside of solid, liquid, and gas. If you have the right nature and stuff, I might sell you one of these shits. A lot of different species buy technology of us, the black people. We make that shit, the Rizqiyans. We made it on Saturn. That was a planet we used to build crafts. We build crafts on Saturn, yeah? And the crafts that we build on Saturn, we tow them to where you want it. We tow this mothership to where you want it. Park it up there. Here, pay us the money. That shit's yours. Now you got yourself a whole fleet of craft straight from the Anunnaki. This is what goes on up there. Do you understand? The Reptilians, they don't build shit. They steal shit. They say, yo, this craft here, what the Rizqiyans are left. Yo, let's hijack this shit. Them man are jumping in that shit and getting off. Huh? Like if someone steals a car. They jumping in that car, putting that shit in third gear. Man's got off. He might fuck around with that car a bit. Switch up some shit, put a nitro bottle on it, tweak it up, customize it, put a rims on the thing. This is what the Reptilians do. They're not connected to source energy. They can't create nothing. They have to take stuff and distort it or manipulate it or reverse engineer it and shit, just like their children, the Mzungu, do. Do you understand? So they've been doing that for time. But my point is, on Saturn, we was making these crafts, yeah? That operation has now been moved into Orion. So we don't do that on Saturn no more. But back in them days, we used to do that shit on Saturn. Saturn is vibrating on 5th density. 5th and 6th density. Yeah, we still on 3 density. They vibrating on 5th and 6th density. Next door, when you go to Jupiter, they ain't building crafts. They building planets on Jupiter. The same group, Anu and them. You need a planet? You niggas ain't got no home because these reptilians smashed up your home. I got to rehouse you. We building you a planet. We build you a planet and we tow that bitch to somewhere else. Park that shit there. That's your fucking planet, bro. Have a nice day. You understand? This is what we was doing on Saturn and on Jupiter. I think Jupiter is on 6th and 7th density. That vibrates at 6th and 7th density. There's people there now. You go there, you can't see because you on 3rd density. So you just go there and there's a whole bunch of nothing. The fuck is this? Nothing there but poisonous gases, right? Or Saturn. But if you could increase your vibration, like we're trying to give you these Kybalian teachings to increase your vibration, you go there, you're interacting with people. They got better technology than down here. Shit. You up there, they're like, yo, I ain't going to Earth. Earth shit, bro. Earth got ruined. The man are on 3D. These man up there are on 6 and 7D, man. And the reptilians can't go no higher than that. They stuck at 6 and 7, so even they got bases there around, in and around fucking Saturn and Jupiter. And let me tell you this, when they tell you about moons, Saturn has 11 moons, or Jupiter has 6, nigga, they are fucking crafts. Some of them shits, they parked, and these scientists down here telling you, yo, Saturn's got 6 moons. It might have 3 moons, and the rest of them is crafts, waiting to get towed to where they need to get towed to. Do you understand that shit? Just like our moon, that's a fucking craft. That came from somewhere else. The reptilians brought that shit here, that current one that's there. Do you see what I'm saying? So a Jupiter now, the moons around Jupiter, they're not crafts, they're worlds. So they're planets that are built for different species, whether they're being sold or whether other diaspora species are being rehoused. Them shits is parked around Jupiter, and then they'll be towed to wherever the fuck they need to be towed to. Yeah? We ain't getting this science from no one else. This is real science. That's why if we send satellites and shit there, we ain't seeing nothing, because all our technology is on a third density thing. No, there's nothing on none of these planets. Just dead. There's a whole bunch of shit going on Mars. There's a whole bunch of shit going on Venus. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to believe what the science is telling you, yo, we're the only ones here, and next door there ain't nothing, there are no trees there, Mars ain't got no trees. Nigga, Venus has got trees made out of granite. That's 1,000 fucking miles in the sky. What are you talking about? You understand what I'm saying? Just fucking trees. They got tigers there that are peppermint, red and white. And the stripes ain't horizontal, they vertical. They start from the head and go from head to tail. Red and white. And they got a fucking mane like a horse. Tigers. And there's seahorses on Venus that are actually seahorses. The front part of them is a fucking horse. And the back part of them is a fucking fish. And there's people that have like boats tied onto these seahorses that are fucking running on the water, and the back parts are fucking fish. Yeah? And they taking you around, showing you shit. You understand what I'm saying? Niggas better wake up, man. But anyway, let me go on, yeah? Because I'm getting through this nicely. I won't be much longer. So what we're seeing today is a return of Anu. Because the demiurge is this small group of reptilians and the Galactic Republic and Mother Hubbard and Alalu and the Ashtarker man. And they've been causing a fucking mischief and throwing a spanner in the works of things and keeping Earth in this electromagnetic gridlock, fucking quarantine prison for the last 6,000 years. And we've been trying to tell you this every time we're trying to give you this message and pass it to the people to make people know. Fuck the speculation, what these Mzungu are giving you through news, headlines and all of this stuff. We've had this same reference since the fucking 1970s. Nothing's changed. We've been telling you the same fucking shit. 50 years later, it's more relevant than ever. Whatever you heard about Dr. York or Nuwapians, or it's time for you to study and practice on the next level. If you really want to fucking transcend all of this hell that this realm has become, then you must take on this, what I'm telling you here. The demiurge is finished, man. And by demiurge, we mean any being that's acting like they are the god or rulers of this realm, whether knowingly or unknowingly, when they are not Anu, or they are not of Anu, but are of their own fucking agenda. Galactic Republic, Mother Hubbard, Enlil, fucking Hebrew Israelite, Yahweh, Allah, fucking Hubal, whatever the fuck you want to talk about. All these religions that is monopolize the fucking evil in this realm, man, and monetize the shit. None of them are fucking exempt. The mosque ain't exempt. The Muslims ain't exempt. The Christians ain't fucking exempt. The Jews are not exempt. The politicians are not exempt. The royal families are not exempt. Big tech is not fucking exempt. Big pharma is not fucking exempt. We need to be holding all of these motherfuckers to account. And this is the real spiritual war. You understand? Not no in the road shooting one another and shit and doing the fucking demon them work for them. So it's always been these reptilians, they want to be the Rizqiyans. They want to be Anu and the high gods. I'm talking about these Alpha Draconians, Mother Hubbard and them. Do you understand? So when they come down into the realm and interact with us, they pass themselves off as gods. They want you to worship them. They want you to give all your power away to them. So they give you this religious shit. When the real gods, they don't want you to worship them. They want you to understand the science of this bitch that you're living in. The science of creation, and to revere them for what they're giving you, so that you can ascend into higher planes and to a higher power of yourself. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's the Reptilians versus the Alpha Draconian Serpents versus the Rizqiyans. And when they started warring each other, as I said, the Rizqiyans got smart, said, yo, let's stop just fighting these niggas, man. Let's just ascend, because they ain't going to be able to keep up with us. They're going to stop at a certain point. We ain't even going to have to deal with these people in our high realm. We'll come back and deal with them when we choose. They can't enter our realm, our bliss. So we ascended out of this bitch and left them here in this fucking chaos to come back and deal with them now. So we got to deal with them from the gods coming back and from down here, from us saying no more of this shit, man. We're not having it no more. We see through this politics, democracy, capitalism, this whole matrix, this world that's running right now. We know who all the players are, how it's being run on us, whether it's from the social media, the YouTubes and the Facebooks and the IG, to the fucking education or Hollywood or music or whatever the fuck. We're seeing through this religion and this false history and racism and fascism and all these isms and schisms. We have to fight it from the inside. Only then will the gods help us by overpowering them from the outside. We'll get rid of this shadow. And we're on the cusp of that now, and I do believe we will achieve it, because failure ain't an option, man. It just ain't. And Anu has a plan, and they have a plan, and I know deep in my heart Anu is the best of planners. So don't fall for this religious shit. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty for questioning Christianity or Islam or your rabbi or your pastor or your teacher about history, or question people, whether it's your family or your friends or whatever. If you really value how you are going to dwell after this here experience, this fleeting experience, then you have to prioritize that shit. You understand? Don't fall for the dragons, man. Don't fall for this worship shit. Don't worship no one. Choose to ascend. Choose to transcend. Choose to tune into your higher power, to the God inside of you. Don't let these reptilians use their fear-based matrix and all the chaos that goes on and all the uncertainty of work and getting paid and survival to make you fucking lose focus, yeah, of what's really important. You decide what's really important in this life, yeah? Sit at the feet of life, make her be your teacher. Reptilians can only vibrate up to the 6th density. They got certain reptilians, most of them that's trapped down here in the 3rd, yeah, and the lower 4th. But some of them, a special group, they go into the 5th and 6th density. Do you understand? But they can't go no higher than that. We have to rise to at least that density in and around ourselves to be able to counteract these motherfuckers. Yeah? Alpha Draconians, they weren't just dumped into this realm. You understand? They were dumped out of the Orion skies and dumped out of Sirius. And Mother Hubbard created them here and created for them their own fucking place, Dracos Constellation. And remember, when you're talking about nomos, 1/3 of them are good, 1/3 of them are bad, and 1/3 of them are neutral. They don't give a fuck. It's whatever benefits them. If it benefits them, they might join you. If it don't benefit them, they might eat your ass. So they got 1/3 of nomos that are good. They riding on the Nibiru and stuff. They got 1/3 of nomos that are bad. They riding with the Lalu and the Galactic Republic and all of that shit. And then you got 1/3 of nomos. They really couldn't give a shit about humans or none of that shit. And to be honest, most species are like that. You got 1/3 of each. You got 1/3 good, 1/3 bad, and 1/3 that just don't give a shit. Same with humans. Yeah. And remember, the reptilians, they are spiritually regressed beings. They're far away. Like when I say when matter's first made, and it's when the all creates, it creates far away from itself. And then the further away you get from the center, the source, is the more evil, or the more recalcitrant, or the more mechanical. You just become less spiritual. And then you have to start the evolution journey, because every evil being will have to take that journey and involute back into the all-oneness of all things, even if they don't want to. Like the Alpha Draconians, they have to. It's just, it's the law. The all is the law. It doesn't make law, it is the fucking law. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's no escape from it. Yeah, and if you want more understanding on the all, go back to the quantum tapes, man. The Illusion of Reality parts 1 and 2, the Living Library, the Elixir. Go back to them shits, man. Yeah, so what they can do, because they're spiritually regressed, they're not into this spiritual growth and love. They don't even know what the fuck love is, enough of them. They that far away from source, from the center, that they don't even understand love. It baffles them. Yeah, so what was I gonna say there? Yeah, they need the love, because the only part of them that still got spiritual psychic power is one that they use for evil. So they use it to mind rape, like they can freeze an individual, like how the electric eel does. If the electric eel wants to take down one of its prey, before it zaps its prey, it puts its prey in this trance. It lets go these frequencies, and the prey goes in a trance, like it was paralyzed. Sometimes it's so dread that the prey will start going towards the eel, like the fish will start swimming towards the eel in a trance, and the eel will just zap him. Do you get me? The reptilians do the same thing. They can put you in this trance, this psychic trance, and when they put you in this psychic trance, it's like mental rape. They can rape your thoughts. They can go through your whole fucking thoughts, even thoughts you don't know you had. And they don't have to ask you no questions. They can just rape you, like mentally rape you. Do you understand? A lot of people have reported this ability of the reptilians, how it just fucking paralyzed them. Yeah? Part of it is due to the fear, because they'll put you into that fear. So I believe if you could deal with the fear, it wouldn't even work as hard. But most of us humans are too weak to even try and break out of that trance. So the reptilian will just trance you out, and just be staring at you, and just rape your thoughts. Just go through all your thoughts, find out what he wants about your ass, know all your weaknesses, all your strengths, all your secrets, everything. You understand? It's a fucking very scary, intimidating thing to have to go through. Yeah? And if you're ever caught in that type of a trance, the best thing I could tell you, like what I would do for myself, is go into my meditations, go into the things I say to empower myself. Like I'll go straight into my istafbat, the affirmation, I am in the love of all and all love is me. I am one with all and all is one with me. I'm a part of all is a part. And I'll start going through that. And then I'll start imposing the I of me. I am Jedefre Memnon. I'm the son of the Most High. I'm starting to build myself till I'm strong enough to break this mental trance. Like it's that deep. Yeah. Because these reptilians, Mother Hubbard created them as recalcitrant beings. As I said, all the evil beings were created from the sub-supreme, the amber light. So they're not supreme beings in my book. They sub-supreme beings. I'm a supreme being because I'm created from the green light. So that means we supreme beings. If you consider yourself created from the green light of Anu, then you have nothing to fear from no fucking recalcitrant beings. The only fear you should have is fear itself. Fear is destruction for you. You're a god. You're a deity. You're from the deities. You are the son and daughters of the deities. Yeah? Confirm it in Psalms 82 verses 1 to 6. Confirm it in John 10:34. Confirm it for yourself, John 8:44. You understand? We are the sons and daughters of the deities. We ain't got to fear no reptiles or none of that mind rape shit or none of that doomsday fuckery. We are the fucking doomsday for them. So don't let them hold you in that mind raping shit. All they can do is distort and adapt and manipulate and reverse engineering shit, man, based on fear, based on the fact that they limited, they recalcitrant, they weak. You understand? They play off that fear. We play off love. We can even kill them with love. Imagine that. Yeah, because they the furthest from source, them kind of beings. If you're talking about all the sentient beings, they the furthest from source. They need evolution of their soul more than us. They need more love than we do. If you misunderstand that, you miss the point. Yeah. They the galactic bullies. And they so regress that they have to rely on the mind rape shit and the Borg, meaning AI. They rely on this AI, this cube, this Borg, because they're spiritual derelicts. Yeah? And Enlil and his household, they are part of this shit. They working with these Alpha Draconians, with the Galactic Republic. Yeah? Enlil and his son, Nanasin, the demon, and Ninurta, the bully, and Baal, the trickster who come down here and trying to make people feel like fucking Yahweh is God and all of that. His dad Yahweh, Enlil. And Ishtar, the daughter of Nanasin, Enlil's granddaughter. And Shamash, the sun god, yeah, and El, the false El, son of Enlil. These are all his children. These are Enlilites. These are those who bred the children of Cain, or who we call the dirty ones, the black devils. And them black devils, they have the Vulcan ancestry. They mix with the Mother Hubbard fucking beings too. You get me? And if you want to confirm the things that I've told you today in this dissection of the reptilians, then study the dude named Alex Collier. Study David Icke. Study William Tompkinson, study Lyndon Moulton Howe, study Phil Snyder and the shit that he said. Even study Zachariah Sitchin, even though he don't like to talk about them. When he's using the word Anunnaki, a lot of times he's talking about reptilians too. Study Credo Mutua, rest in peace, Justify Truer Voice, the late Shanuzi priest from South Africa. Study what he said, man, about these Chituwari, to use the South African Bantu word. Chituwari, the same word they use in the Marvel films, Avengers. They got these reptilians running around in Avengers, and they even calling them the South African word, Chituwari. Loki and them, Thor and them, talking to these, oh, they're Chituwari. Listen to Credo Mutua, man. He been telling you this shit since, God knows how long, probably the 60s or 70s. Even people like Michael Tellinger, and last and definitely not least, Noble Reverend Dr. Malachi Z. York, who is my master teacher, who's been trying to tell you hard-headed niggas this science since the 1967. Imagine that. With that being said, that's the end of my transmission. I'm going to see if there's anything I need to address here, and then I'm out. Yeah, that was very enjoyable for me to get that out there in the ethers. Greetings, Empress Lotus. Greetings, Mahogany X. I wonder if Mother Hubbard is the origin of Mother Hubbard nursery rhyme. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. But this is what I'm saying. All the reptilians can be considered her children. That's her spawn right there. So I believe you hit a nail on the head with that right there. Self-affirmation is so important in this time. Every day, man, moment to moment, that you reaffirm who and what you are and what this whole experience is and what your intentions are for your soul. You understand? For your being. Like, it's so important. And also to catch yourself in the negative self-talks. Whenever you're just in a doubt or you're in a fear because you have challenges or you don't know how you're going to pay this bill or whatever. It's so important to catch yourself in the self-talk. Yeah. And to not give matter more power than it has. It's just matter. It's just vibrations. So all you got to do is change your vibrations and match the vibration that you want, because everything has a vibration. So anything you want, your desire, there's a certain vibration for that desire. So if you can heighten your vibration to match the vibration you want, all you can do is pull that experience and pull it to you. Like if you see a vortex being created in water, that vortex is pulling everything into the vortex. It's now attracting everything, you understand, it needs, that comes past its way. It's like attracting from the ethers. And that's what we have to do, create that vortex with these affirmations and catching ourselves in this self-talk. Especially now when everything is fear-based. Everything is doom and gloom and fear-based and uncertainty and fear of the unknown and uncharted territories and what's going to happen. And you understand what I'm saying? And so that's a very good point for you to make. But I think based on that's all that I've seen on here, I think, you lot have received this talk very well. And I just wanted to put that out there because we already bust down the Anunnakis. So I wanted us to bust down the reptilians from this side so that you lot know, there's loads of different reptilians, man. But this is how them niggas started. Do you understand? With that being said, we love you all. That's the end of the transmission. Namaste.